Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the medical teaching podcast for both teachers and for learners. And today I'm going to be talking about one of the basic things that I teach to my resident physicians and medical students is how to do a history of present illness. So I'm a hospitalist at St. Francis Hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we have a large patient volume in general, and so we have to be able to efficiently as well as effectively get a good history of present illness to know what's going on with our patients. And the method that I have been employing for my medical students and residents has been to teach them to follow a very simple and yet what I consider to be an effective methodology. And so basically, what I do is I have them start by going through the patient's past medical history. So, the past medical history, past surgical history, allergies, medications, family history, social history, because that just so happens that with Epic, if you fill all those things out, then when you open up the H&P template, then it auto-populates all of those things into your H&P automatically. And then the history of present illness you have to fill in yourself. And so I teach my residents to start with asking the patient, okay, so tell me what brings you into the hospital today. And then most of our patients will tell us a story and tell us basically what's going on, why they came. And usually they will give you a story that will last anywhere between 10 seconds and 3 minutes. Usually it's not longer than that, and almost never does it exceed 5 minutes. And so I have instructed my residents that unless if the patient crosses the 5 minute threshold, that they literally are not to interrupt the patient no matter what. They need to let the patient talk uninterrupted from the moment that the patient begins to answer that question, what brings you in today, until the patient is done talking. And then when the patient is finished talking, then I teach my residents to ask, is there anything more to the story? Now, the reason why I teach them to use those exact words is because I have found that my residents like to ask different variants of the question. They like to say, is there anything more? Or do you have anything else that you want to say? Or they'll ask kind of different variants. But what I've found is that our patients want us to know what's going on, and so they'll tell us as much of the story as they think that we want to know. And so the important thing is to ask the same way every time, is to ask, is there anything more to the story? And so I teach them to repeat that. And so until the patients are all, till they say, nope, there's nothing more to the story. So for instance, pretend that that you're talking to the patient, you say, tell me what brings you in. They say, I came in because I have such and such pain and I have such and such things going on, and this is the story. I've had it for past 5 days and it's been getting worse, and so then they keep talking, and then they come to an end, and then you say, is there anything more to the story? And they say, well, maybe there was such and such thing going on, and I don't know if you want to know about this, but such and such such. Is there anything more to the story? And then blah, 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 blah. Is there anything more to the story? Is there anything more to the story? Until they say, nope, that's it. And then after that, then I teach my residents to think for a moment and think, okay, what are the main things I need to really ask about and form my differential around? So what was the main one or two things? And so I have them, think about which one was the primary issue that they should hone in on. And then I have them ask the OPQRST. O is for onset. Did it come on suddenly or did it come on gradually? P is for pain and palliation. What made it better? What made it worse? Quality, which of course does not apply to non-pain complaints, but quality was it. And I teach my learners to ask to prompt the patients, was it stabbing? Was it sharp? Was it dull? Was it squeezing? Was it burning? Was it pressure-like pain? And so I have them kind of prompt the patients like that to help the patients along, because sometimes pain's hard to describe, and I can certainly appreciate where my patients are coming from when they say that it's hard to describe, and so I kind of want my learners to kind of help them out. Then radiation, again, does not apply to non-pain complaints. Or does the pain stay just in one spot, or does it radiate anywhere? And then S is for severity. How severe is the pain? Was it mild, moderate, severe? If it's pain, you can ask them, oh, what is the pain on a scale of 1 to 10? And then the T is for timing. Was the pain, was it constant, or did it come and go? And so the OP, QRST can apply best for pain, but the OP and ST can apply for any patient complaint, right? So shortness of breath, a seizure event, a syncopal episode, whatever the case may be. And so just honestly, have your learners I always have my learners, do at least the OP and the ST on every patient. And then I tell my learners, okay, so now you've gotten some information, you've gotten their story, you've gotten the OPQRST. Now it's important for you to stop and write down your differential diagnosis for this particular complaint or issue or problem that the patient has. And so then I have them actually write it down, because that way they can refer to it not only to ask questions to rule things in or out based on the history, but then I also use that so as to help them when they're writing their assessment and plan, they can refer to that differential diagnosis that they've already thought about. And so it helps advance their assessment and plan, makes it a more efficient process. And so, for instance, if they had come in with chest pain, then I'll have them ask, okay, so what's your differential diagnosis? ACS, tension pneumothorax, PE, aortic dissection, esophageal rupture. Let's just start with those 5 things. They're deadly. So ACS, what are the key questions you can ask for that? It would be things like, was it substernal? Is it below? Did your pain occur right here, right underneath your sternum bone? Did it get worse with activity? Was it better with rest? Was it better with nitroglycerin? And then tension pneumothorax. Have you had any recent traumas or injuries or surgeries to the chest area? And then you could ask for the aortic dissection. Did you have ripping, tearing chest pain? Did it go to your back? And then the questions for PE, have you had any recent lengthy travel, right? Have you noticed one leg having more swelling and redness than the other recently? And then for esophageal rupture, have you had a lot of nausea or vomiting lately, right? So these would be the kind of things that you could add that helps our learners to think through and ask better quality questions instead of just shotgunning a review of systems questionnaire for our patients, and helps our learners to think in a more structured way and take a history taking in a more structured and orderly way. That makes more sense. So I've also, an important tip that I've had that I've passed on to many of my learners is, as they're asking this OPQRST and then also these questions to rule things in or out, is I'll tell them, okay, to narrow the scope of time that you're asking about to the time frame that the patient reported was the onset of the symptoms or the problem, right? So for instance, if the patient said, I've been having 5 days of chest pain, then I have my learners ask, okay, so for the past 5 days, have you had any fever? In the past 5 days, have you had any chills? If they're asking them to rule out pneumonia, right? In the past 5 days, was the pain underneath your sternum? This kind of thing, so that way we're not saying, is the pain, have you had any fevers? Oh yeah, I had fever 5 months ago. It helps eliminate that. And so that's something that I've found. Again, the quality of our questions drives the quality of the answers that our patients are able to give us. Our patients are trying to help us. They're trying to give us the info that we need to help them. But They can only answer our questions if we, our questions. If we ask good questions, it helps them give us good answers that'll be useful for us. So that's history of present illness. That's what I do to help my learners. If there's two main problems that our patients have come with and they're totally separate and have two different sets of differential diagnoses, then I'll have my learners do an OPQRST and a differential diagnosis for each major problem. But I usually tell my learners, if you're having to do more than two, then most likely there's things that you can kind of bunch together as symptoms that are running together because they're probably one thing as opposed to two separate things. So I hope that this guide is helpful. I would love some of your thoughts and your experiences with gathering a history of present illness, but that is the method that I have been using as a hospitalist myself for the past many years, and I thought I would share it with you, and I hope it's helpful. So again, share your thoughts, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.